It is a battle of former mayors as Colombia goes to the polls on the 19th of June. On one side is Gustavo Petro, a rebel-turned politician who was the former mayor of Bogota. On the other hand is Rodolfo Hernandez, so-called TikTok king and the former mayor of Bucaramanga. This is a battle between two anti-establishment candidates. Currently riding the popularity wave, though, is Petro. He is a former left-wing guerrilla. Petro joined politics in 1978. This was when he joined the April 17 movement, also known as M19. This was a rebel group formed after Castro's revolution in Cuba. In 1985, he was briefly arrested and even tortured by the Colombian army. Later, he held a number of political posts, including that of Bogota's mayor. So it's no surprise that Petro is choosing to do things differently. His campaign slogan says, "Join the change." He wants to rebuild Colombia's all-powerful institutions from scratch. He promises to ramp up employment, ban the export of oil and gas, and make education free in universities. Also on his agenda is renegotiating trade deals with the United States. If Petro ends up winning, it will shatter a lot of glass ceilings in Colombia. It will be the first time the country will have a left-wing president, and this will end a long legacy of hard-right rulers in Colombia. This would also mean that the pink tide that is taking over Latin America will finally reach Bogota. The entire region is electing leftist leaders, and Colombia then would be no different. Secondly, if Petro wins, Colombia will have its first black vice president. His running mate is Francia Marquez, an Afro-Colombian environmentalist who has galvanized Colombia's black communities. Petro complains that corruption cannot be fought with TikTok, but social media can win elections. And this is what Colombia's right-wing dark horse, Rodolfo Hernandez, wants to prove. The TikTok king may crush Petro's hopes of becoming Colombia's first left-wing president. Hernandez is a 77-year-old construction tycoon, but he is not a typical presidential candidate. For years, politics in Colombia was about conservatism, but Hernandez is brash, he is controversial to say the least, and he is foul-mouthed. Many even call him the Trump of Colombia. He vows to close embassies to pay off student debts and talks about making sport and taking to the open sea compulsory. So Hernandez is anything but conventional. Just like the United States, this has appealed to a lot of voters. They resonate his position as a political outsider. But don't be mistaken here. Rodolfo is a dark horse in this race. He has served as the mayor of Bucaramanga, and he ended up shocking much of Colombia by taking up the second place in the first round. His campaign is predominantly through social media. Hernandez even calls himself the king of TikTok with over 500,000 followers. This is a crucial time for Colombia. Growing numbers of Colombians face poverty. They are dealing with extreme economic inequality and a resurgence of cartel-related violence. The country also remains the world's top producer of cocaine despite the crackdown. On Sunday, Colombians will decide who their next president will be. Will it be the former guerrilla leader or the TikTok king? As opinion polls remain inconclusive, it looks like a tight race lies ahead. Going straight across now to Emily Hart, a journalist from Medellin, Colombia. Thanks very much, Emily, for being here with us. Any election is crucial, but this one all the more for Colombia at a time when a growing number of Colombians have been facing poverty. There is growing economic inequality, also the drug-related violence, the drug cartel-related violence, which is making a comeback. How do you assess the promises that have been laid out by these two candidates so far?
It's exactly as you say. It's a historic moment for Colombia. Petro has a 30-year history in opposition politics. It's a strong, elaborated, detailed plan for government, which would be a restructure of a lot of the way the country works. Hernandez, as you say, he is a wild card. He has run on an anti-corruption ticket, complicated by the fact that he faces his own corruption prosecution. The trial will be in July. In terms of his plan for government, the proposals are not clear. Colombia under Hernandez, we just cannot really know at this point what that will look like. He's run as an independent candidate, he's self-funded, he has few allies, but he owes nobody any favors in politics, and that's what's really appealed to the electorate. Whereas Petro, you know, the dream of many, 40% in the first round, it's high. A lot of people do want Colombia to have their first historical leftist president. On the other hand, a lot of people really do not want that. And one of Hernandez's great strengths is that he is not Petro. He is not on the left. And he has mopped up the votes from the first rounds that were not for Petro. And here we are at a point where the polls have 1% between the two men. The future's very unclear.
Emily, give us a better sense of the mood on the ground right now and the expectations of the voters, what the key issues are on the top of their minds.
It's a very divided country. I was in Bucaramanga a couple of days ago, which is the headquarters of Hernandez, where he was mayor. He left mayorship with an 84% approval rate and has won an enormous number of the votes in the north of Colombia. People there, I've been told, they don't want more politicians. It's not an ideological race when it comes to Hernandez. It's about administration. People see the fact that he's a businessman, a successful one, multimillionaire, as a sign that he will be able to manage the country well, to produce wealth, to make costs efficient. I think a lot of Colombians are tired of big, unfulfilled promises, and they just want a better run country. However, as you said, inequality is huge in Colombia. It is a wealthy country with an enormous amount of people living in very difficult conditions and without state services. A lot of those people see restructuring of the country's economy and of its wealth and of its power as a way forward. But as I say, these two very different men produce such different visions of the future of Colombia. It's impossible to say. The country is also split very regionally, with certain strongholds in the north, in Santander, in the south in Huila, and certainly here in Medellin for Rodolfo Hernandez. Petro has a lot of the border areas and the capital, Bogota, where he was mayor.
Emily Hart, thanks very much for being here on the broadcast and sharing those perspectives and inputs.
Thanks for having me.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.